the the business operating system that I've really loved and appreciated with my own company and other companies that I tend to see really nail this down is the entrepreneurial operating system, or EOS, where they actually upfront or once a year actually revisit what are the values that matter most to us 10 years from now. What are we really hoping to accomplish? How do we reverse engineer that into a business and a marketing plan and strategy that really get us to where we want to go in the next 1 to 3 years in relation to that 10-year target that we have? What are our differentiators in the marketplace? Who is our ideal client profile, and those types of things? And so that's the framework that I often lean on for my own businesses that I own, or for the clients that I work with, is we've kind of got to get these foundational pieces in place first, because otherwise, and now taking a step forward into your question, whatever tactics we use, if we're not aligned at that level, what's the big picture that we're working towards, and why do we all feel excited about that? And now we're reverse engineering a tactical plan for the next year to really execute against. That's where I see a marketer, a data scientist, a sales leader, they go and dive into the numbers when it's not aligned to who they are as a company. It just doesn't get them anywhere. And it just feels like a lot of wasted time and energy and chasing one's tail, so to speak. And so if we're aligned at the big picture and we've reverse engineered, hey, over the next year, here's where we really want to get. Then when I actually step into the data and segmentation, that's where I start to actually align again the purpose, and is the data corroborating what we're looking for and where we want to go. So that's kind of the big picture approach that I would take. And then again, the ratios that I come back to is, if this is who we are, this is where we're going, and this is our target customer, why would I go and do a ton of data analysis on a customer that we wouldn't even want in the first place, right? Here's our success rate with our target customer. How are we going to get more successful with our target customer? And even with my own brand, there was a time where we were servicing a smaller business than we were really set up to succeed with. And it was a volume play. It wasn't satisfying or fulfilling. And so if I would go and optimize my business based off of working with a non-ideal client profile, it would just produce more of the same thing, which wasn't ultimately satisfying or moving us in the right direction. But once we identified these are the types of businesses that we're the most successful with, what is our success rate with that cohort of data? How can we incorporate that into our marketing and brand strategy? And now let's build and execute against that. Really feels like it set us up for success. And that's where I see businesses that take that approach really start to take strides forward.
Yeah, it's amazing how many businesses are in that position of they are struggling to actually identify or pin down who their ideal target audience or their ideal client is. And therefore, like you said, they're servicing many different segments, and like you said, can be a volume play, which is not satisfying. It doesn't actually make them feel that they're creating the impact that they'd like to create. And they sort of almost lose sight of that purpose, that core purpose. So what is the thing that you do to sort of reconnect with that purpose at all times? And how do you help your clients and the people you work with to focus on that purpose first, and then to utilize that through their marketing?
Yeah. Well, there's two things that come up when you ask that, Chris. The first one is, this is very normal and very healthy to go through these experiences in business and in marketing. And so the temptation will be to judge and shame yourself if you're stuck in one of these ruts right now. And I would just offer up an idea. What if you got it right every single time you did it perfectly, and you always got it right with your business and your marketing? As exciting as that sounds, we would all get bored so fast. We would all get bored so fast. And so if you're in a situation with a business where you don't feel like you have these things nailed down and dialed in, it's actually going to make the process of figuring that out and dialing it in that much sweeter, because now you know what it's like to market and run a business that's not aligned with those things, and which will allow you to understand and appreciate what getting those things figured out means. And so I actually think that's what makes life beautiful, is the contrasting experiences that help us appreciate. You don't know what it's like to feel healthy until you feel unhealthy.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's like to run a successful business until you've run an unsuccessful business. You don't know what great marketing feels like until you know what crappy marketing feels like. And so the first thing I would offer up is give yourself grace and remember that this is part of the process that allows us to experience and understand what is that ideal customer. Well, you wouldn't even know until you experience some non-ideal customers.
100%.
So give yourself a pat on the back, understand it's part of the process. It's actually what makes business and marketing fun. It's a fun game to play for those reasons. Okay. And I think when we're in that place, it actually leans into one of our core values at Disruptive, which is gratitude. We choose to be grateful for these experiences that allow us to learn and grow and experience what life and business has to offer us. So we start every meeting with a gratitude moment where everyone just takes a couple of minutes, text someone that you're feeling grateful for today and tell them why you're feeling grateful for them. Tell that client that you just don't really like working with right now, one of the things you're grateful for in working with them. Because when our heart is in a state of gratitude, all of a sudden we start seeing reasons to be grateful. When our hearts are in a non-gratitude place, we see lots of reasons to not be grateful as well. So we will find ultimately what we're looking for. So that's step one, is choose to be grateful for wherever you're at. If you choose gratitude, you'll see reasons to be grateful for it. And then the second piece is it's actually another one of our core values, which is win, win, win. It's an extrapolation of the win-win philosophy taught in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And when we look at this to say, how do we align? How do we get ourselves moving in the right direction? Well, one, we start with gratitude. And then we take a step back and say, can we see how this will create a win for our customers, a win for our employees, and will this be a win for the business in being sustainable, profitable, and driving the impact that we're looking to drive as a business? Because if we're making marketing or business decisions that do not contribute to all 3 of those categories winning, it will be short-lived and it will not be sustainable. If we over-prioritize the customer and provide a horrible working experience for our employees, I promise that will not be sustainable. If you over-prioritize the employee experience and the customers are having a bad experience, that's not sustainable. If you over-prioritize the customer and the employee, but the business can't make any money or be successful, it's not sustainable either. And it's interesting. I feel like we've just gone through a cycle of this that's given us the contrast. COVID happened and everyone was grateful to have a job that had a job when all the craziness was happening. And then, which kind of gave the employer the edge, right?
Yeah.
And then we went through a stage where it was really hard to hire anyone. And then the employee had the edge. And so it's kind of like we've kind of experienced the contrast of, do you like working somewhere when it feels like they own you and that they have the edge and that they see themselves as the employer as superior to you as the employee? That doesn't inspire greatness in anyone. It's actually the inverse is true as well. If the employees feel like, we'll just leave the second things are hard and we've got all the power, it actually doesn't work very well for the business either. So I actually feel like the business cycle has allowed us to experience the contrast of maybe an imbalance in one of the favors of those 3. So when I look at business, if there is proactive and intentional thought around how will this create a win for our customers, for our employees, and for the business, that is the centering exercise that I believe aligns a business to move forward in a very productive way. And just like we shared earlier, tell me about an experience where a customer loved your product or service and it really drove the impact that you're looking for. One of the questions that we can ask is, tell me an experience that an employee has had where they've been able to realize and live their potential and you're proud of the impact that that's having for them as well. And let's incorporate that into the business and growth strategy, that we can continue to provide those experiences as well, and that we can do so in a way that's sustainable for the business. And most businesses, when they start to adopt this mentality of customer needs to win, employee needs to win, and it needs to be sustainable for the business, the best businesses that I see play a longer game in terms of they might sacrifice a little bit of the business profits, success, growth, or whatever to make sure that those first two are trending in the right direction. Because a good business is going to have a longer time horizon to hit that win-win-win ratio, where a customer and an employee might have a little shorter time horizon where they want to experience that win for them as well. But I do feel like when business leaders show up and have that win-win-win mentality, it balances the decision making and then actually creates a strategy for the business growth that everyone starts to feel excited and bought into.